ships and around 30,000 men and women. It was first founded back in 1917 on 474 acres of land by President Woodrow Wilson, and now it's grown to over 4,800 acres, including the adjacent Naval Air Station, and it has more than 6,700 buildings. This is also the site of the 300th anniversary celebration of the founding of Jamestown back in 1907. 10 years later, the naval base was founded on the same site. That makes this year the 100th year anniversary of the Norfolk Naval Base. The first ship you see there with the red, white, blue bands on her smokestacks, that's the Cape May. She's part of our Ready Reserve fleet, and that's a group of about 45 ships not normally kept in service, but if needed in a national emergency or time of war, she can be fully activated and sent to sea with civilian crews, ready to supplement the Navy and carrying military cargo. She's mainly used for military pre-positioning and carrying of supplies. The Cape May is 873 feet long, 105 feet wide. She has a draft of 39 feet, and for those who don't know, draft is the amount of ship that sits below the water, and she has a top speed of around 16 knots. Next one you see there, the big white one with the red crosses all over it, that's the USNS Comfort. She's basically like a big floating hospital. She was commissioned back in February of 1976. However, didn't go into naval service until December of 1987. She's 894 feet long, 105 feet wide, top speed of around 17 knots, also 1,000 hospital beds on board. Her crew consists of 63 civilian personnel, 956 naval hospital staff, and 258 naval support staff. Also, an interesting fact about this ship, in accordance with the Geneva Conventions, the Comfort and her crew do not carry any offensive weapons, and it would be considered a war crime to anyone who fires upon her. The next three ships to our right are three of the Ticonderoga class of guided missile cruisers, also known as Aegis cruisers. They're 567 feet long, 55 feet wide, speed of about 30 plus knots with a crew of about 364. Now, back when this class of ship was constructed in the mid-1980s, they had very sophisticated electronics on board, and these ships got just about $1 billion to construct. That's almost the same as some of the Navy's super aircraft carriers. They have two primary missions. First, to protect U.S. forces by destroying enemy aircraft, missiles, submarines, and surface ships. And second is to carry out offensive actions by using long-range shipping missiles, land attack missiles, and naval gunfire. Left side of Pier 2 with her stern and rear facing us is the number 46, USS Tortuga. She's actually based out of Little Creek, right around the corner from us. She was commissioned back on November 17th of 1990. She's of the Whidbey Island class of LSDs. She's 609 feet long, 84 feet wide, speed of about 20 plus knots, with a crew of 413, and she could hold about 500. Coming up on Pier 3, if you look down along the water level, looks like we have three of them on the right side and one on the left. You can see some of the Navy submarines. Most of the subs in Norfolk are of the Los Angeles class, and they're all considered super high speed, super quiet, and deep diving. They're 360 feet long, 33 feet wide, speed of about 20 plus knots with a crew of 134. Their primary function would be to seek out and destroy enemy ballistic missile submarines and surface ships. But they're also very versatile warships capable of destroying land-based targets using the Tomahawk cruise missile. Tomahawk is the most accurate long-range missile in the U.S. arsenal, and it can be tipped with a tactical nuclear warhead with a range of 1,500 nautical miles. Conventionally armed, has a range of 750 nautical miles. These subs can also attack enemy surface ships well over the horizon using the anti-ship missile called Harpoon. Harpoon has a range of 60 nautical miles and carries a highly explosive warhead. Coming up on Pier 4 and Pier 5, if you look on the left side of Pier 4 and both sides of Pier 5, we have about 5 of the Early Bird class of guided missile destroyers. And these are the most powerful and survivable class of destroyer ever put to sea. They're highly automated warships that carry the most advanced electronics and weapon systems. They're 509 feet long, 66 feet wide, with a crew of 323. They're also very fast ships powered by 4 LM2500 General Electric gas turbine engines. That's the same engines you would find on the DC-10 jet aircraft, only this is the Marine version. They provide 100,000 shaft horsepower, giving the ship a top speed in excess of 30 knots. And their primary function is to screen and protect the battle group from enemy airstrikes, but they're also very effective in seeking out and destroying enemy submarines. The number 57 you see there is the USS Mitzer, and the 98 you see there is the USS Fort Sherman. Coming up on the right side of Pier 6, the big ship you see there with the blue and gold bands on their smokestacks. That means she's part of MSC, or Military Sea Lift Command, and this is one of their Henry J. Kaiser class fleet oilers. You know, MSC ships are pretty much support ships for the Navy. They do anything from refueling missions to carrying all different types of cargo for naval ships when they deploy overseas. This one here is the underway replenishment oiler. And if you look up on the bow in front of that ship, you can see some black hoses. Well, those are extended to ships aside of her, and she can refuel up to 4 ships simultaneously, traveling in a tight formation of speeds of up to 15 knots. Known as UNREP, or underway replenishment, this is very dangerous to deliver fuel, but also one of the most effective. She's 677 feet long, 97 feet wide, crew of 89 civilian with 6 Navy, and a top speed of around 20 knots. She also has a capacity to hold 180,000 barrels of petroleum. Pier 7 we're coming up on has a destroyer on the right side, and that's actually the USS Earlyburg, the namesake for this class, or the first one ever built. She was commissioned back on July 4th of 1991. And on the left side is another military Sea Lift Command ship, and that's another one of their Henry J. Kaiser class fleet oilers. That is a USNS called. In between the next 2 piers, if you look on land, you can see a large brown and tan brick building. This is the Navy's Fleet Industrial Supply Center. It's the 2nd largest government building in the U.S., second only to the Pentagon. It's basically like the Navy's super Walmart. You can obtain anything from a ballpoint pen to an aircraft carrier anchor. Just be prepared to fill out about the same amount of paperwork for both.
Yeah. Who does that?
LPDs, or amphibious transport dock ships. She's 684 feet long, 105 feet wide, speed of about 22 plus knots with a crew of 360, and she could hold about 800 Marines. So like I said, this is a very special ship. This is the second of 3 ships to be built in honor of the victims of September 11th. And you can actually see the Pentagon symbol there on the stern up there by the flight deck. So there's 184 gold stars throughout the ship to honor the 184 victims who lost their lives that day at the Pentagon. And they also used 200 tons of steel from the wreckage of the Pentagon to help construct this ship. So directly to our right, the number 24 USS Arlington. The first one that was built was the USS New York. She's now stationed down in Florida. She was obviously built in honor of the victims of the World Trade Center. And then the third one, which is being constructed, is the USS Somerset, and that'll be for the victims of Flight 93. The big one to her left is the number 3, that's USS Kearsarge. She was commissioned back on October 16th of 1993.
Kearsarge.
She's of the WASP class of LHDs, or amphibious assault ships. She's 844 feet long, 106 feet wide, speed of about 20 plus knots with a crew of just over 1,100, and she could hold about 1,900 Marines. And without the Marines on board, they have a 600-bed hospital. Now, being that these ships carry so many Marines, the Marines obviously had a big influence on the construction of these amphibious vessels. Because they're used to land men, supplies,
must be the Eisenhower.
on enemy beaches during amphibious assaults via landing craft and aircraft. The type of landing craft would be air-cushioned vehicles similar to hovercraft launched from the well deck. And unfortunately, you did not get a good shot of the well deck. You could actually see one, a smaller one on the 24 there, but it's similar to the back of a pickup truck. There's a gate back there that drops down into the water. Then there's ballast in the back of these ships that are flooded. So the back of these ships actually drop down about 13 feet. Then these vessels could come in and out with ease. The type of aircraft would be a combination of 29 helicopters and Harrier jets, all of which must take off and land vertically. These ships can and have been used for humanitarian purposes. The most notable ones have been Hurricanes Katrina and Rita in 2005, and the earthquake in Haiti in 2010. The last ships I'm going to talk about today, folks, are some of the most impressive warships the Navy has, and we have a special treat. We have 4 of them in today, are the super aircraft carriers. The first one you see there is the number 69, the Dwight D. Eisenhower, or the Big Ike. She was commissioned back on October 18th of 1977. She's of the Nimitz class of super aircraft carriers.
Ike.
And the next one you see there, the brand new carrier, just got commissioned yesterday. If you all paying attention to the news, that is the number 78, the Gerald R. Ford, the first one of this class, of the Ford class. She's quite a bit bigger than the other ones. You can see when we get right behind her. She cost us about $13 billion to construct, and like I said, got commissioned yesterday, but they're not expecting her to deploy until 2020. She's over 1,100 feet long and over about 260 feet wide. And this ship here was designed for efficiency and for future readiness. So her new design enables the Navy to not operate the ship with less manpower, saving the Navy more than $4 billion over the ship's 50-year life. Also, with the new construction and location of the island and the width of the ship here can do 25% more flight missions than her sister ships right next to us. So once again, the number 78, the Gerald R. Ford, brand new, just got commissioned yesterday. Going down to the next one, you see the 73, that's the George Washington. She was commissioned back on July 4th of 1992, also of the Nimitz class. And down there on the end, you can see the number 72, that's USS Abraham Lincoln. She was commissioned back on November 11th of 1989, also of the Nimitz class. So all these ships here, minus the Ford, are pretty similar, so I'm just going to refer to number 73 during my narration. So all these ships here are nuclear powered, and the Navy classifies any aircraft carrier over 1,000 feet in length as a supercarrier, and the number 73 is 1,092 feet in length. The extreme breadth of her flight deck is 252 feet. Now from the bottom of her keel to the top of her mast, it's equivalent of a 25-story building. The structure located on the flight deck is known as the island. This is where most of the ship's operations are controlled. And the number 73 on the island indicates that she was the Navy's 73rd consecutively planned carrier. The flight deck covers an area of just under 5 acres, and that's enough room to have 4 football games going on and still leaving room for spectators. When fully loaded, approximately 39 feet of this ship would sit below the water, and as we said earlier, channel depth in this harbor is maintained between 45 and 55 feet deep. She'll carry several million gallons of fuel on board, enough to refuel much of the fleet that goes to sea with her, as well as the aircraft she carries. Now, technically, the ship could accommodate up to 110 aircraft, but typically it'd be deployed about 85. Aircraft are launched using steam catapults with speeds of up to 165 miles per hour, and each carrier is equipped with 4 catapults. The first aircraft could be launched with only a minute notice, then they can launch 1 aircraft every 15 seconds thereafter. She is also equipped with 4 flight elevators designed to move the aircraft between the hangar decks and the flight deck. The 4 elevators combined can move 1 aircraft every 7 seconds.
Wow.
She's powered by 2 atomic reactors, which are expected to last up to 20 years without refueling, and that's equivalent to about 1 million miles in steaming time. Now, reactors generate steam, most of which is used to turn the 4 turbines on the carrier, and combined these turbines can produce 280,000 shaft horsepower, giving the ship a top speed in excess of 30 knots. With the air wing on board, the ship carries a crew of close to 6,000 people. That means they serve almost 18,000 meals per day, and that grocery bill costs about $1 million a month. The aircraft carriers are complete cities within themselves, and on board you would find banks, barbershops, butcher shops, bakeries, shoe repair shops, a hospital, dental office, a religious chapel, and even an ice cream parlor. For the most part, they're air conditioned throughout. You can't really see from this angle, but up there on the bow, you might be able to see it on the Eisenhower up there. She has 2 large anchors. Each anchor weighs 60,000 pounds, and each length in the anchor chain weighs 365 pounds. And if you were to stand this ship up on her stern or rear, it should be approximately 100 foot less than the height of the Empire State Building. There's 900 miles of electrical wiring inside, and it only takes 160,000 gallons of paint to cover this ship. That's enough to paint 10,000 6-room houses inside and out. And finally, when one of these ships goes to sea for their typical 6-month deployment, they will carry with them 140,000 rolls of toilet paper.
140,000 rolls of toilet
Now,
paper.
real quick, before we turn around, as you can see, that was the last ship we have in there, the Lincoln. There's another bridge tunnel up ahead of us and to the right. That's the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, part of Interstate 64, which connects the cities of Hampton up ahead of us with Norfolk to our right. Also serves to separate the Chesapeake Bay from the Hampton Roads Harbor. Looking directly in front of us, you can see a tree line. If you follow that all the way around to the left, you can see 2 very large cranes. And this is the Newport News Shipbuilding Company, which is located a little further up the James River. This is where the aircraft carriers of the Enterprise class, John F. Kennedy class, Nimitz class, and as of a couple months ago, the Gerald R. Ford class have all been constructed. And that is all I have for y'all today, folks. We will be turning around, heading back to downtown Norfolk. I'd just like to thank y'all for coming out and hope you all enjoy the rest of your cruise. Thank you.
Yo!
They go on sea trials.
Oh, they're at them.
Yeah, that's all done.